As an overlander, I found camp setup and pack down takes the most energy during my trips. This all changed when I started using rooftop tents, which gave me back hours of time to spend rather exploring. So in this video, I'm gonna share my experience on 2 types of rooftop tents you can buy and how these tents save me time and energy and making camping and overlanding more enjoyable. My name is Marcus Wyatt. Join me as I share my passion for 4-wheel drives and traveling to the remotest parts of New Zealand. If you enjoy these videos, please support me by buying me a coffee on Patreon. Join the team of explorers now. Okay, we are talking rooftop tents today. There are 3 major types of rooftop tents out there today, plus about 2 hybrid styles. Rooftop tents is also one of the more expensive things you can get in overlanding. So in this video, I'm gonna share my experience on 2 types of rooftop tents you can buy. Today, I'm gonna compare the pop top and the clamshell in great detail. And so by the way, just because the clamshell is on top of my truck does not mean automatically that is the best tent. Stick around, you'll be quite surprised. Towards the end, I will give you my findings on which of these 2 tents is better for which environment. We are going to cover the pros and cons of each style of tent in quite a bit of detail. So why don't I include soft top or canvas style tents in this review? Well, firstly, I've never owned one. And secondly, I pretty much early on in my decision when I started looking at rooftop tents, kind of eliminated them as not really suitable for what I'm trying to do. I bought the James Peru tent from a camper van company that was liquidating their assets in the beginning of the COVID epidemic. At the time, the tent was about 2 to 3 years old, still in really quite good condition, with only a few scuff marks and worn marks, you know, from opening and closing the tent. I think it's a very good indication of the quality of the tent. In general, you know, camper van companies, people don't treat the equipment the best. So it's really, for me, it's a testament of how well this tent's been put together. Some of the pros on this tent. The tent's really fast to set up, anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute and she's up. The tent has a reasonable backup time, anywhere I found from about 2 to 4 minutes. In my case, you know, it was high up on the car, so not as easy as normally. In terms of storage, this pop top wins outright. You can have your pillows, blankets, the ladder inside, and she closes up, no worries. In bad weather and very strong winds, the pop top is magic. Because the fabric is pulled taut by the gas struts here, there's hardly any flapping on this tent. Only the pull strap on the back here once annoyed me with a bit of flapping, but I sorted that quickly with a bungee strap. The hard shell roof works great in rain and stuff, and it just sheds the water and snow and whatever. And finally, because the tent is quite a lot narrower than, say, the canvas tents, fuel economy on these tents are actually not bad, and it's a bit better than the old brick type. One feature that James Peru has, which is really cool, is this solar fan that you can turn on then inside, and it is fantastic circulating the condensation of your breathing out of the tent, and just helps with keeping, you know, everything dry inside. The only issue I found with the fan is if you sleep with your head on this side underneath the fan, I tend to have, in the mornings, have a bit of a sore throat. But just swap around, sleep with your feet this side, head that side, no problems. Now for a few cons. If you're really tall, say 6'7", you might actually struggle with the vertical height in the roof, in the tent. It's only 1 meter high. So, you know, it might be a problem. One of the things I found in the tent is getting dressed in the morning. It's a bit of a contortion act inside because of the height restriction. One of the problems that people normally find, the hardware for the tent, the leg that keeps it up is in each corner, and it's on the inside of the fabric. So it's in here. So as it closes and opens, it actually sometimes pinches the fabric, and that can wear holes into the fabric. So that's a common problem. Because you have legs in each corner, they can get wonky. Not so much when they're locked in, but like that, they get quite wonky and has quite a bit of movement. But once you lock them in, they're pretty stable. Typically this tent tends to have a little bit more problems with the opening and closing mechanism, just because they're on the inside of the tent. One of the other cons on this tent is it's very expensive. In New Zealand, they generally tend to retail for about 3,000 New Zealand dollars to 5,500 up. The James Peru's use typically is about $5,500. In terms of weight, these tents are quite heavy. They normally around 55 kgs plus. Another thing you need to keep in mind if you're looking at a pop top tent is the footprint tends to be a little bit larger. So, you know, what you see is what you sleep in. It's not ideal if you've got a short wheelbase vehicle. You know, they tend to, this tent, like on a short wheelbase Jeep, will just hang off the front and hang off the back at the same time. eezi-awn is a South African producer and was the first company to actually produce clamshell tents in the world. The pros on the clamshell tent. The clamshell tent is the fastest setup tent of all of the types of tents. It only takes about 5 to 30 seconds to actually get it open and set up and ready for you to sleep in. There's also not a lot of hardware on this tent that can break, and replacing that hardware is pretty easy. The clamshell tent tends to be a little bit thinner than the pop top, which gives you slightly better fuel economy over the pop top. In bad weather, the clamshell works really well. Also make sure if you park with the angle of the roof into the wind. So with the angle of the roof into the wind and rain, it will shed the water quite well, keep the wind away from the sides of the fabric, and really take good care of you. One of the great features on the eezi-awn blade is that the rain fly on the outside has got zippers, so you can take the spring poles out and just zip it closed, and then that eliminates more loose fabric on the tent, which would flap in wind. We've been in some serious storms, and by zipping down the rain fly, we've managed to actually get a reasonable night's sleep. Another thing is clamshells tends to have better headspace. On the one side you've got less, but on the other side you've got a lot. You know, dressing up in the morning is not so much of a contortion act. It's pretty easy. I just get on my knees on the high side, put on my shirt, get down on my bum, put on my pants, and I'm ready to get out of the tent. Another benefit of clamshells is most of these has additional storage options on top. The blade comes with the eezi-awn K9 rails pre-installed on top of the tent, and that gives the option that if I want, I can install the eezi-awn load bars and then take a kayak, a stand-up paddleboard, whatever I want, I can actually now put on top of the load bars. Now let's talk about some of the cons of the clamshell tent. One of the major issues with clamshell tents is they're very heavy. They normally start at about 60 kgs plus. My eezi-awn blade is 72 kgs. Next, clamshells tends to be quite expensive. In New Zealand, they start for about $3,000 for the cheap Chinese ones, and then they'll go up to four and a half, $5,000. If you're tall, you might struggle a bit with room for your feet, even though they're 2.2 meters long. Because of the angle at the small side, I'm finding that if I lie flat on my back, there's not enough space for my feet to be comfortable. They tend to be pushed back. So by the way, I'm 6'2". So I've given you the pros and cons on both styles of tents. So which one is better? It's not as easy as answering that question. It all depends on your style of overlanding. Are you a traveler that likes to move every day? If the answer is yes, then setup and tear down time is probably very important to you. Then you should buy the clamshell. It's the fastest tent by far for setup and tear down. So when should you buy the pop top? In my opinion, if I had a camping trailer and I was looking for a tent for it, I'd probably go for the pop top. The reason is, if the tent is not too high and you want to close it, the pop top's actually not that hard to close. Also, the pop top is, for me, I feel has more space, and it's definitely the quietest tent in inclement weather. Although the blade has, you know, the rainfly that you can zip down and close, I still feel the James Peru is quieter in bad weather. One of the other things I really like about the James Peru is the fan in the roof. Fantastic for keeping the condensation out. So why did I replace the pop top with the clamshell on my truck? One of the main reasons is because of the height of the tent on top of the roof of the vehicle. Every morning it was quite an exercise to actually close the pop top. First, you had to climb up on this side of the vehicle and then pull the front of the tent down, get one of the clips hooked in. Then you have to walk around the vehicle, go clip in the other side. Now you can climb up on the back and you have to pull the tent down. But when you pull the tent down, you would have the fabric on the side bulging out. Now you have to kind of hang off the side or climb down and try and push the fabric back in. It just became a nightmare. I eventually found ways around it to kind of control the bulging of the fabric on the side, but you know, just because of the height, it just didn't work for me. With the eezi-awn clamshell, pretty much, I climb up on the back, pull the tent halfway down, use my arm, you know, to push the fabric in, then close it down completely, job done. I think that pretty much covers my experience on the two types of rooftop tent. Most of what I want to say about these two tents and the comparison of them. Now next, I would highly suggest the video up here.